Alright guys, Malteser here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about where to land, a couple of different landing spots, and specifically my top 5 landing spots. And I know everyone has their own preferences, but this video might just help people going forward get set up. There's different reasons why I land at a few different spots, and I will be breaking each spot down. Before I get into the video, if you could like and subscribe, as always, it's much appreciated, and leave comments down below where you like to land and other good landing spots for other people to land at. Now, what makes a good landing spot? Well, in my opinion, there's a few different things. It depends on what you're looking for. Obviously, if you want to get straight into the action, point of interest central in the map, they're going to be a good place to land. But also, if you don't want to jump straight into the fight, landing at the edge of the map can be a good place because it can get you a lot of gear. And I know that you've got to sometimes battle with a storm, but you can generally tell with where the battle bus starts off in the general direction that the storm's going to be in roughly. And also now with the movement being changed, the storm is not as big as a problem as it was earlier on in the season. As always, specifically for newer players, I do recommend trying to land at as much as the map as possibly you can. Get yourself used to the map and playing the game in different places, different locations, in different situations. But in general, when I'm looking to land, I'm looking for certain things. I'm looking for the type of loot that's going to be in the area. Now, obviously, we can't always guarantee what loot's going to be in the area, but certain places have certain things like vaults in which we know we can pick up purple weapons from, and easier to pick up the loot because there's less enemies about. But also sometimes we're looking to get into the action straight away, try and take out some of those bigger players, or we're maybe looking for to pick up the best weapons in the game. First location I'm going to talk about where I like to land is Classy Court. I like to land at Classy Court mainly because of its location on the map. It's quite high north up the map, and because of that I can work my way down the map. Its biggest negative landing at Classy Court is that it's not really got any forecast stations nearby, but balancing that is the fact that there's vehicles always spawns in the car park, and the loot pool that's there is normally pretty good. Also, in the general area, there's a train station, there's vending machines so you can buy items if you don't manage to get shields. But you'll notice that where I like to normally land, there's a lot of cooler boxes. There's a lot of cooler boxes in the area, and because there's a lot of cooler boxes, you normally get a lot of shield fish. So normally getting shield in this location is not normally a problem. One thing about it is that it does tend to get quite busy, especially depending on the location of the battle bus, but this place does become quite busy. So if you do like getting into fights quite early, then this is another reason to land here, because you can take quite a lot of people or get a lot of high kills landing here. Generally, I like to land at the end court on the eastern part of the map. That's normally because you get a lot of chests in the area, and like I say, a lot of cooler boxes with equipment. You can normally get looted up pretty quick and deal with anyone around you, and then get shielded up. And then from there, we can work our way down to either Lavish L if we feel like going for Oscar if he hasn't been gone, or we want to take the person out who's took the medallion. We can work our way down to the nearest weather station, forecast tower. This normally ends up being about 800 meters away, and with the vehicles it does make it easier to get to. Again, it's not the closest place to a forecast station, but this is really its biggest disadvantage because it's quite northern in the map. There's not many places to land above it, and that normally means that you only tend to see bots landing there, or 1 or 2 players coming in afterwards. Your biggest thing about landing here is that it does get quite busy, and you're probably gonna have quite a bit of fighting to do. The second location I like to land at is Lavish L for a few obvious reasons. The first being its location. It's still high and quite north up the map, but the main thing about it is because it's a little bit lower than Classy Courts. What happens is that you tend to find that it is either normally in the circle or very close to the first circle, so you haven't got long to travel. And with the storm slowing right down and the movement changing, this makes it not really a place to worry about the start of the first circle. But one of the other things, again, same little classic course, is that it doesn't have a weather forecast station, but that doesn't mean that it's not a place to land at, because the fact, obviously, you get vehicles. One of the other negatives to this is, well, a negative if you see it like that, is that it does tend to get quite busy here, similar to classic courts, especially if you see the battle bus being quite close to it or going over directly over it. I think one of the reasons the forecast towers is not close to it is because if it was, then it would just be one of the hottest spots to drop at. And I think that's just to balance it out a little bit. That's why there's no forecast. I tend to like to land high up on the roof and work my way down. That just gives me a chance to clear out any surrounding area, get weapons, and then I try to get looted up. You tend to find that there's quite a few chests here. On the outside of the Lavish Lair, there is a vending machine to buy heals and stuff if you want to get hold of them, if you don't get many in the building. But you tend to find that you do get some, generally enough to get you to 50 shield, and like I say, you get a lot of weapons and ammo, which is one of the big things to go into Lavish Lair, because the main reason to land here is because basically the best weapon in the game, which is Oscar's Frenzy Auto Shotgun. Now, getting Oscar's Frenzy Auto Shotgun, the first thing you want to do is make sure the area is clear, there's no one going to come in and third party you while you're doing it, and then go for Oscar. And like I say, if you get lucky enough for it to be in the circle, you don't have to rush as much, but if you do, then you know the circle's not that far away, so you don't have to panic too much. Oscar's weapon is definitely one of the best weapons of the game, and especially when it comes to end game and you start getting into those closer battles with the more skilled players towards the end of the game, and in a 50-50 you know you're going to do damage fighting off it with each other. It's going to help you win a lot of battles, basically. But also, a good thing about landing in Lavish Lair is that because people tend to land here, a lot of people tend to land here, you can actually get quite a number of high kills, but also you're getting rid of a lot of people that later in the game could become a problem. So Lavish Lair is one of my top landing spots. Getting the medallion for the safe is also one of the main reasons that I like to land here, because being able to upgrade my weapons to the attachments that I want, specifically the sniper rifle, is really beneficial to the way that I like to play the game. And I think obviously if a lot more people did do this, then it would actually help them out as well. And I don't like to normally keep the medallion if I'm not in the storm, or sorry, if I'm not in the circle, I'll tend to just drop it, or if I'm in the circle, I'll try and get to the edge of the first circle and drop the medallion there. I don't like to keep hold of the medallion now with them nerfing it, but the vault and having the weapons upgrade bench is one of the big reasons to also land in Lavish Lair. I think its vault's in one of the best locations as well. It's not that hard to find, like some of them is quite hard to find for people. This one's pretty much easy. You kill Oscar, you jump straight out of the conservatory and you're in there. And like I say, having his weapon is just, for me, one of still the strongest weapons in the game. The fire rate and the damage it does. I know it's got the scope on it, but you don't really need to use the scope on it. When close range fight like that, you don't need to go to ads with the shotgun to be very effective. So a very good landing spot, one that I use quite a lot, and you know, let me know what you think about it. Third location I like to land at is Fens Fields. The reason for landing at Fens Fields is because of its central location. It's near enough always in the first circle, and also this offers me great manoeuvrability around the map. There's vehicles in the location. There's weather forecast towers that spawn in the location, and also there's a boss with a fantastic boss weapon. Nisha's Striker AR is ultimately one of the best weapons in the game, and another reason to land here is that it does get quite busy, and although some people might see that as a negative, and it can be sometimes, you can die before you've even picked up your first weapon, it allows you to get used to fighting people, and this in close range, and this is only going to improve you as a player. But second of all, this sometimes is a benefit because you're getting players out of the game who later on in the game can become quite a problem. Some of the players that like to land at the main POIs and at the boss locations are players who tend to be players who are at the end of the game are going to be, you know, high skilled players, but being able to take them out quite early on in a situation where you both, you know, you've got the weapons you've got and not much shield and heals, can benefit you a little bit. But Fens Fields, it's quite a built up area, but this allows for a lot of cover. Obviously there's, you know, the loot pool is going to be different every time. Sometimes you're going to get great drops, rare chests, great weapons, and then sometimes you're going to end up with a load of grey weapons. There is a vendor machine which sells heals and shield, so that's another good thing to do, learn where that is. If you can't find any, pick some up. Also there's a tower on the left there where if you drop on the top of that you can knock that off, and you normally get about 60 shield. There's slate barrels inside it, so break the roof, break the floor, and you're good to go. Obviously, like I say, dropping here to get Nisha's medallion, unlock the vault, is another reason. The vault is underneath the main floor. Nisha's weapon's pretty good. When dealing with Nisha, you obviously want to make sure that you're getting most people out of the area. This is a big point because of its location. People tend to land in and around Fens Fields and then make their way over, so you want to make sure that everyone in the location's pretty much dead, and make sure no one's going to come in and third party you, because that there's no worse than that, isn't no more annoying. It's brilliant when you do it, but it's awful when someone does it to you. So you want to just make sure you're mopping up anyone without dealing with Nisha and the guards. I mean, they've actually really nerfed them, I think, the bosses and that, because they used to be a lot more aggressive and more on target, but they now seem to be like shoot all over the place. So once you've dealt with everyone, you're able to pick up Nisha, take out Nisha. Once you've took out Nisha, pick up a medallion, pick up a weapon, heal up, go to the vault, use the vault. Then you're never normally far from the first forecast station. Like I say, you can pick up vehicles, get yourself to the forecast station. We're in a really good place to go forward, and I've actually picked up quite a few victories from dropping at Fens Fields, so it tends to be, although I prefer to land at Lavish L, it tends to be one of the places where I end up doing well, and I think that's because of the reason that I pertained to earlier, that a lot of decent players land here. And you can take them out, you can even, you know, third party them, and when they're going for Nisha and stuff, that late game there doesn't seem to be as many high skilled players, and like I say, I've got quite a few victories from landing at Fens Fields. So overall, that's what I think. It's a good place. You're in a central part of the map, you're able to move to wherever you want in the circle. You can get yourself into some good fights, get rid of a few people early on, and you've got a lot of equipment to go forward in the game quite comfortably. And also the vault makes this another great location to land at. Fourth location is Hazy Hillside. I like landing here because, again, of its location on the map, it's quite south. I can get this area cleared out and then move on to Fens Fields sometimes. Landing here is a benefit rather than landing at Fens Fields. Although a few people do tend to land at Hazy Hillside, not as many as do at Fens Fields. You get the odd bots landing in and around Hazy Hillside, and you might come up against one or two players, but again, this is another good place to get used to fighting quite quickly and quite closely. And then the good reason about landing here is there is a vault. It doesn't have an upgrade bench, but it guarantees you a purple rarity weapon. There is a vending machine. This is the building with the vault, and there's only one guard here. it's easy enough to take him out. Once you've took him out, you can get the vault, and you can get the vending machine if you need heals. Again, this is another reason for landing here, because we want to get those weapons and we want to get those heals as fast as possible, if we're looking to go quite far into the long game, the end game. Dealing with people quite quickly who land in the area is another reason. We want to get drop where there's some weapons, pick some weapons up and deal as much damage and get people out of the way, and then worry about the vault. Its location is decent enough because it has vehicles, and also it tends to be quite close to the first circle or in the first circle. We don't want to be having to be dealing with people healing up and then, you know, being nowhere near the first circle and no vehicles or anything to get us there. So this location is quite a good location to land at. Definitely is my top 5, and it gives us a good way to go with the map as well, because forecast stations can be quite close to it. There's one that comes near Reckless Railway quite a lot of the time, and you know, so you can get the vehicle there quite quickly, and also there's not many places to land on south of it. If they do, then you're well equipped to deal with them coming over here. So Hazy Hillside is definitely a place to land. There's a lot of buildings. It's another built up area. There's a lot of buildings. There's a lot of places where people can come and hide from and peek out from, and cause you through problems. So make sure you get another lay of the land. It's one of the big things when you're landing at locations. You want to make sure you are well aware of where you are in that location and where other people tend to be and tend to land as well. But like I say, it's got everything we want. It's got vending machine, it's got a vault, it's got plenty of loot, it's got vehicles, and it's got easy access in and out to get to forecast stations. And going forward, we can easily go into any of the other POIs to take on the bosses or people who are there, to actually improve our game going forward. We can end up with better weapons and use the upgrade bench later on if we want. But overall, I do think this is a good location to land at. The 5th and final location I want to talk about is this little building just south of Ritzy Riviera, just north of the cruise ship. It's a little bit of a hidden gem. There's a little building tucked in the corner. It's perfect for landing there because it's close to the forecast towers. It's got about an 80% spawn rate of the forecast tower. Just to the east of it also spawns forecast towers towards Newty Steps and Ruined Reels, which it's easy access from there. One of the other great things about it is the cruise ship's just right next to it, and not a lot of people seem to land at the cruise ship, and there's a vault on with one enemy. That's one of the main reasons that I like to land here. Yeah, it's a great place to land up to get shield, loot, and just generally going forward, giving yourself a good start to the game. Now, when we land here, 9 times out of 10 we land here, maybe there's 1 or 2 bots that land here. I've had the odd time where people will land close by, and people tend to land more like at Ritzy Riviera or on the actual mountaintop just to the left of it, and what happens there is that might work their way down, but by then we've got 100 shield, we've got great weapons, and also, you know, we're ready to deal with anything that comes our way. One of the other great things about this is getting over to the cruise ship, because there's a vault on board. Only one enemy, take him out, we get the vault. One of the good things about the vault is it's got, I think all of the littler vaults have, not the boss vaults, have a chance for spawning an upgrade bench. I'm not sure what the rate of that is, but in all the times that I've landed here and got to the vault, I think I've had the upgrade bench about 4 or 5 times, so there's a chance of that. And obviously another great thing about the cruise ship is it's got jump pads on, so we can jump straight over to the forecast tower when it spawns. We can even jump and get ourselves positioned into the circle better if we end up in the storm. And like I say, there's not the great deal of players who seem to land here for whatever reason at the minute, but the odd ones that do, you know, that's giving you that training to deal with people landing here and getting ready to fight. But it's a great location to get yourself good loot, get ourselves with full shield potions, all that sort of stuff, ready to go into the end game, the mid to end game. It's putting you in a really good spot because you've got all the equipment going forward. This is actually one of my favourite landing spots. I probably land here probably the most with this and Lavish L, but and I've had quite a lot of success from landing here. And overall, if you're looking to win games, it doesn't matter how many kills you get and stuff. You know, it's all about winning that game at the end and putting yourself in the best position. And this is one of them spots you want to put yourself in a really good position from landing here and doing everything, getting all of the loot and getting all of the equipment. Well, that's my top 5 landing spots. I know there's plenty more out there, and like I've said before, I recommend trying to land at as many places as possible to see what works best for you and keep the game fresh. I hope you've enjoyed this video or found it informative in some way. Leave a comment to let me know your favourite landing spot or even your least favourite landing spot, and a big shout out to the people who commented on the last video. Keep showing the love, it's much appreciated. See you in the next one.